So there are two realities in Afghanistan right now. One reality is for the foreign passport holders, even those who are Afghans but have a foreign citizenship, and they haven't been in the country before in the previous regime, but they can travel freely. Of course, they're provided all the freedoms, and sometimes even accompanied by Taliban soldiers. So they come out and bring out those good news about Taliban, and then creating this narrative and propaganda. And of course, for the foreigners as well, the tourism has been so much boosted in the Taliban's era for the foreign nationals that you would not believe. I cannot believe my eyes. The videos I see, the YouTubers, all these, TikTokers and content creators, when they go and they share the pictures of my country, which I haven't ever witnessed when I was in Afghanistan. I've been born there and raised there, but because of all these terror that Taliban had created, we couldn't travel from one city to another without, fearing for our life, or even taking the public transport inside Kabul was like you would never know when this bus would blow up and then you will not make it to home. So for me, it's like I see beautiful, beautiful scenery of my country, which makes me even more sad that I cannot or I could not enjoy that. However, the reality, the actual reality for the people, again, like mine, born and bred in that country and who are left behind, especially women, is much, much more darker than we can even imagine. Um, Girls are banned from school. They're banned from all sort of public, spheres. Women businesses are closed. Women are not allowed to go out without a male chaperone. 3 weeks ago, there was a video of women fighting Taliban because Taliban were not allowing these women to use public transport without a male companion. But today, to my surprise, I woke up to a video. I think it was in Afghanistan International that an Afghan man recorded a video of Chinese women wearing mini skirts. Their legs are showing, they're showing skin, and they're not wearing any scarf, walking on the street of Kabul while Taliban are standing there with their guns and scary faces. But you see right by her side an Afghan woman fully covered. But then the Taliban soldiers, instead of looking at this Chinese woman, their all eyes are on this woman with the hijab. Okay, let's see if a piece of hijab is open, so we can attack her, so we can suppress her even further. So this is the current reality in Afghanistan. It's a total theatrics, I would say. Like they have put on this massive show of Taliban 2.0, the amazing people who had brought peace and prosperity to Afghanistan. There is no war in Afghanistan. Foreigners can go. There's boost in tourism. But for Afghan people, it's like those slaves in the era of slavery, where these aristocrats would enjoy their lives, fancy lives, everything being served in silver platters, but then those slaves would be in the worst condition living in staples. This is the current situation in reality for the real Afghan people and for the women of Afghanistan who are stuck back home. There are various factors. One is the 100+ decrees that Mullah Haibatullah, the leader of Taliban, has issued, simply reducing women to marry objects to inside homes for men. It's poverty. It's, not being able to dream after 20 years of experiencing life, tasting life, finally feeling like, okay, as a woman, I matter. I am a human too. And then suddenly you're not a human anymore. And the GBV, the gender-based violence, it's at all-time high in Afghanistan because there is no institution that protects women anymore. all those laws and institutions that were there to protect the rights of women are dissolved by Taliban. The easiest, the biggest example is the Ministry of Women Affairs, which is changed to Ministry of Vice and Virtue, something like completely anti-women and anti-human, to be honest. So this is the reason, and it's not only the reason, there's no hope left for them. When there's gender violence at all time highs, when the only purpose for a woman is to, get married and, become somebody's wife and then give services to that man, and most of the time be forced to become, second, third, fifth, seventh, sixth wife of these Taliban, to be honest, who doesn't look even like human beings. I'm sorry, as an activist, I shouldn't be this, objective of people's appearance or whatever, but these are Taliban that we were talking. They're not humans, they're animals. And there are reports that doesn't reach the media, the international media, is that if you go just a little bit of research in Badakhshan, how many bodies of women are found in the Kokcha River? Kokcha River is one of the famous rivers in Tajikistan. Just about 2 days ago, the bodies of 2 young girls were found. You don't know if they commit suicide or they're killed by Taliban or they're abused and killed by Taliban or this is a honor killing. In the absence of a judiciary system, accountability, and the institutions protecting women's rights, you would never know what happens to tens of these women. They just vanish, they die, they're killed, they're raped, they're imprisoned in silence. Right now that I'm talking to you, there are hundreds of women in the prisons of Taliban that the world is not aware of. And these women are the normal, ordinary women. And they're facing the most horrific situation, kind of abuse in those prison cells. And the moment they're out of those prisons, they will be the victims of honor killings by the family because, of course, we are, in the society we live, it's a big shame for your daughter to be arrested. It doesn't matter whether she's done anything wrong or not. So this is the reason that the Afghanistan has become a living hell for women. It's like a open concentration camp, and they're trying to escape this desperately with if it costs them anything and everything. I have learned it quite the hard way in the past 2 years that all those lies that we were fed of, equality, women's right, human right, women are above everything. In the West, women and the West is in our country to uphold those values for us as well. But then when they left us, just to be like when you throw a piece of bone to a lion's den, and in this case they throw. I wouldn't disrespect the lions comparing them to the Taliban's. They are not even considered to be called dogs, to be honest. Dogs are much more honorable than them. But anyways, I learned that the feminism has a color, human right has a color, and all these international values and everything has a color. If they're saying that this applies to everybody, they're lying. They're lying to our faces. They don't care what is happening in the Middle East, in Iran, in Afghanistan, in Kurdistan, in Yazid. They don't care. They don't care what's happening in Syria to the women and children. I hate any terrorist, any extremist group. I never support Hamas, Hezbollah, the regime of Iran, or Taliban. They're all the same for me. But when it comes to people of these countries, I don't see the reason why they're being neglected. What is the reason? They're not human enough. They don't breathe oxygen that we do. The Westerns do. I will give you an example of Iman Khalif from Algeria. Just because she is from a Middle East, first of all, the stereotypes that they have, created around the women from our side of the world, that they cannot be without hijab. There's no Muslim without hijab. And they're not women like Iman Khalif. who can look a little bit, masculine because of the feature. This is how they haven't been to Middle East clearly, or they haven't been to our side of the world. And because she's strong enough, so she's a man. Because she beat a white woman, she's wrong. And because a white woman gives up on, 46 seconds into a fight, she's the victim. I learned during this Olympic a term like white women tears. Of course, this does not comply to everyone. I have my best friends are, women from Europe and US and from these countries. And these are the women, they're women who are fighting for these values. But they're also sidelined like us because, they're taking the sides of the ones who are not so much so like them. So they're also paying the ultimate price. Now I will take you to Manisha, the Afghan girls on the breakdance platform. And let's compare her to the breakdancers from Australia. Like she was literally, I don't know what she was doing, a kindergarten dance, the Australian girl. But she was not disqualified. She was given the platform, but our Afghan athlete or breakdancer, she was disqualified just because she wore a cape with the message of free Afghan women. Which part of this seems political to you? Since when the women's rights have been, negotiated like political issue? If it is a political issue, then why are you going in Doha meetings and behind closed doors with Taliban and not mentioning the women's rights? When we talk to you that discuss this, put pressure on them, you see, women's right is not a part of political discussion. It's a human right. But when it comes to conveying a message, asking the world to save women of Afghanistan, then it suddenly turns into a political thing. And then that puts you, that is the reason that you get disqualified and erased. So we are facing the worst kind of gender apartheid right now in the history, is where we are being erased in our countries. And surprisingly, we are being silenced in the West. The West that claims that they're upholding all these values. The West that claims that they have, the human rights and women's rights have been birthed in these countries. And do you see any feminists coming forward and talking about this? I haven't seen any feminists talking about this. I see J.K. Rowling going bashing Iman Khalif, but I don't see her going bashing Taliban for, erasing women of Afghanistan, or going bashing the Islamic regime of Iran for killing, blinding women for just not wearing a piece of scarf. So this is what I say, selective feminism, or, it's all based on your color and based on the geography. Do not believe for a second that they care about us. We have to fight here. Our fight starts here in the heart of the Western society. Then we can go back in our own country and fight. Absolutely. And that's what we have been doing since about a year and a half. I'm not sure if you're familiar that I'm part of United Against Gender Apartheid campaign. We started this right after when the Taliban started issuing decrees after 2021. But then we saw that there were multiple platforms was created, but then we needed to unite these movements with the women of Iran, Afghanistan. It started from women of Iran and Afghanistan, and Masih Alinejad sent the first message and asked to everyone to be united. And what happened was, now we have women of Africa, South Africa, especially women of, we have women from Kurdistan, we have them from Balochistan, we have from, I forgot to count, but we have almost from all the Middle Eastern countries coming together under one platform. And we are calling to get united against gender apartheid. And not only that, we are fighting to codify this term first, because without codification, there is no use of sending any cases to the international court. We have tried this with Afghanistan. Afghanistan has an open case in in ICC right now. But when you send a gender discriminatory case, they send it under, gender persecution, which only we can only punish the person who has been involved, the particular person, whereas the person behind this is the leaders of these regimes. Like in Iran is their leader, in Afghanistan is Hebatullah. So I think, and through this, I call on my sisters in Middle East, on my sisters in Kurdistan, Balochistan, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, and on my sisters on West who believe in the human values and women's rights, to join us on this call, to stand united and to move forward united, because it is not only the women in Middle East. What we are seeing is that the victory of the rights in the West right now. What we are witnessing catastrophic, that even the women in the West are taking steps back. Why? Because we weren't united enough to, uphold those values in the countries like Afghanistan, Iran, Kurdistan, and all the Middle East. And now it's, coming to your own countries, and now it's biting you back. So it's not only, nothing stays in the Middle East. Nothing stays in Vegas. If it happened in Vegas, it's not, this is another time, this is another era. So I really, really hope and I feel that unity is the only way to overcome all the injustice that this male patriarchal political sphere has been pushing towards us, and to fight all these agendas and propagandas that's being spread against women. From the social media, we are seeing how it's changing to a more extreme right side, or full of hatred, to the international media, to even now in our communities, in societies, we are seeing this huge division, and we have to start now and soon, because it will be late. And all I want to say that I am very much disappointed in the world. I am disappointed in the lawmakers, and most importantly, I am disappointed in the sisterhood that we were so proud of, and I was so proud of. This is the time, and this is the day to show the sisterhood and womanhood, and women for women, and women support women. And if I don't see that now today for the women of Middle East, women of Afghanistan, Iran, and even women in Palestine and Kurdistan, I think there will be no hope left for humanity. And unfortunately, we are doomed.